What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to Royal Conversations, where I will be interviewing successful business owners and salesmen and other people in different careers. But the whole point of this channel is for me to talk to these guys and for them to give all of us advice on how we can be successful and how we can prosper in this one life we got. I hope you guys enjoy the video today. Please hit that like, please hit that subscribe, and hit that post notifications. That way you guys know when the next video goes live. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll catch you in a little bit.
All right, Dirk, how you been?
Yes, sir. Good, man.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Oh, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me a little about what your job is and kind of what you do to make your money.
Okay. So I've been at Lithia Jeep. It was 16 years, July 10th. And I never thought I'd ever be in the car business. I was a plumber and pipe fitter with Local 350. And then I loved motorcycles. And always bought all my bikes from Big Valley Honda. And so I had went in there to see their new store. And my salesperson says, you should think about sales because you like dirt bikes and street bikes, and it'd be a lot of fun. And so I started helping out on the weekends, and they eventually offered me a job. And I had my journeyman's card, and I thought it was a lot of fun. So I went full-time sales and actually made more money doing that than I did high scale as a journeyman plumber and pipe fitter. And but it was kind of a fickle industry. I was there for a little over 8 years and started out in sales and then got into finance and then eventually became a sales manager. And then in 2008 or 9, the housing crisis happened. And so no one was buying any toys anymore.
Yeah.
And so that was a really tough time and a big learning lesson. And anyway, I ended up resigning. And I told my wife at the time that I'd try and get back into plumbing and pipe fitting, but no one was really hiring because the economy just came to a standstill.
Yeah.
And my friend was a general sales manager here. He was at the old store. We used to teach martial arts together, and he asked if I wanted to come sell cars. And I was like, oh my God, selling cars, because you know how everybody feels about car salesmen. You know, they kind of get a bad rap. And he goes, just come down and meet everybody, and you'll see it's not what you think. And so I went down there, and sure enough, it's just a bunch of people trying to make a living and support their families. But it's still really hard on me. I had to work, and so I accepted the job. And it took probably 5-6 months before I felt comfortable in my own skin, and really just realizing that all I'm trying to do is help people. Right? Guide them along the path so that they can find a car that works for them. Once I got that through my head, it became a lot easier. You know what I mean? But so yeah, that was 2009, I guess. And it's seen a lot of changes. Obviously moving to this big store like 6 years ago or however long it's been now. And being a salesperson, it's sometimes it's a lot of luck.
You got
as to who you run into. And then you have to know your product, and you have to not thrive on rejection, but you have to understand it. Right. And because there's going to be people that just aren't ready to move forward, or maybe they have like 5 different types of cars they want to look at, and this is just one stop along the way. So you invest a lot of time, and all you can really do is just try and treat people right so you're memorable, and and try and help them and educate them. And so that's kind of what I do.
So you've been in the car sales industry for a minute then?
16 years.
16, wow.
And it's the only car dealership I've ever worked at.
Really?
So it's kind of rare. A lot of people kind of bounce around. Things get tough at one dealership, and then they might go to another one for whatever reason.
Gotcha.
But here I feel really fortunate because we have a lot of long-term employees, and everybody's incredibly professional and of the same mindset. Putting the customer first. Just trying to help people. Try and get them the least expensive vehicle that's going to suit their needs.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, you don't want to show them a car that has everything, and they fall in love with it, and then come to find out it's out of their budget. So there's this discovery process when you meet someone, just like what you do. What are their goals? And so you learn about them and listen, and then from that you can kind of guide them along the path of what you think would be the best fit for them. if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. This is a very professional environment. It's very clean, very tidy, and I think it definitely suits the kind of work and the kind of the kind of service you guys want to give to customers for sure.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the hardest lesson you've had to learn out of kind of the toughest situation you've been through, and kind of the lesson you got from
I
that?
think being able to bounce back after, a huge rejection.
Mm.
So, for example, I was working with this guy. He lives like 5 hours away, so we're trying to do everything over the phone. And it was very difficult to get an approval because his credit wasn't the best.
Mhm.
And so my manager, though, was amazing and was able to get an approval. And so he was going to come in because he was excited about the Jeep that he got approved on. And anyway, I've been working on it for like 4 days.
Yeah.
And then he had to drive from here back to where he lives, which is 5 hours, and then from there to here. And he and his family got a hotel in Fallon, and he was supposed to come that night. And he goes, "I'm just exhausted. I've been driving all day." I'm like, "No worries, And he goes, "Well," I said, he goes, "I'll come in tomorrow morning." And I said, "What time's good for you?" He goes, 10. Okay. So I come in, 10 o'clock rolls around, 10:30 rolls around, and I touch base with him. I said, "You still coming in?" And he says, "Yeah, I'm on my way. It's just stuck in traffic." And that was the last I heard of him. He never showed up.
Yeah.
And that just really crapped me out.
Yeah.
So those type of things, and being able to snap right back to it, and not get so discouraged where you just dwell on things and you can't take it personally.
Yeah.
Because everybody's different. Some people are really good communicators, some people aren't. And so that is, I think, with every position in sales, is something that I feel every salesperson has to get a hold of. And if you let it get to you, then your whole day's shot.
Yeah.
You're not going to be your best when you do have a customer who wants to buy something.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're crapped out.
Yeah.
And so that's throughout sales. And I don't think people intentionally do it. I just think things happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's a funny story. At my old job at Big Valley Honda, there was this gal that came in with a couple friends. And I guess she'd just come into a ton of money. And so her friends are picking out quads and this. And next thing you know, this is like three sales. And then I have a dedicated parts person who spent all day with me picking out gear.
Yeah.
The end of the day comes and she has to run to her dad's office to get her money.
Yeah.
Disappeared.
Wow.
So I spent all day with that group.
Yeah.
And no sales.
No sales.
A lot of wasted time. So that's the most difficult thing.
Yeah.
It's just trying to stay positive when things don't go your way.
It's a great lesson, I think, especially for my generation. I think personally, a lot of people my age, or even a year or two older, can be really spoiled by their parents, or by circumstances that come in life. And so I think that's a great tip for anybody in my generation to keep going even through the rejections when things don't go your way, or or the way you think, or the way you'd hope. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I was pretty lucky early on in life. I had good parents, and they were straight shooters, and so the senior trip, right?
Yeah,
was a big deal.
Yeah.
So I brought it up, and this is how much it's going to cost, and they're like, "Oh, we can't afford it." And it's like, what? It was like a wake up call. Like, what do you mean you can't afford it?
Yeah.
And so anyway, after wrestling season was over, I went to work at this place, Herman's World of Sporting Goods, making $4.25 an hour. And the deal that they had made me, it's like, you pay for half, we'll pay for the other half. And so I worked all throughout the rest of the time to do my part so I could go on that senior trip. But that was a valuable learning lesson, that nothing's handed to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you want to get things done, you have to take it upon yourself and be proactive, and so you can try and accomplish your goals, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And it's not easy. And as you know, when you start working, you've been in school, and all of a sudden you get your first job, and now there's people you have to deal with, and roles, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every job's different, but that was a huge learning lesson for me. And from that, I just kind of took it upon myself that no one's really going to help me. I have to do it myself.
Yeah, that's another great lesson.
So So I think having that mindset going into the workforce, every generation's different, but I think it gives you a leg up. Maybe you might not be the best salesperson, but mentally you're a little more mentally tough because you already have it in your head that this is something you chose to do to try and accomplish a goal or a dream or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. On to the next question. Who inspired you the most? From any, doesn't matter. You could be from your younger years or from kind of your older years with more experience.
Man, I've had a lot of great people in my life. My dad, my mom, and my football coach taught me some lessons about being mentally tough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because in sports, it's not, you work your butt off, right? And so he was a great inspiration to me. And then I always, ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to be a martial artist, but I grew up pretty removed, like 20 miles out of town in the pine trees, so my parents, when they get home from work, they didn't really have time to drive me all the way back into town to take martial arts lessons. So I was lucky enough that I got a couple of academic scholarships, and I ballet parked when I was going to school.
Yeah.
And started making my own money, and then I paid for my own martial arts education.
Nice.
And so even though I started a little bit later on in life, I accomplished my goals: first degree, second degree, black belt. Anyway, my instructors, the two that I had, were just actually there's many that inspired me, but just being humble. It's not wasn't the same mindset as like some of the MMA mentality, where you just want to beat people up. It was more old school, and respect and, bowing and everything. So those three groups of people were, probably my greatest inspiration that kind of taught me the most valuable lessons and helped shape me into who I am today.
Nice. Awesome.
But I still get inspired by people, you always meet people like you inspire me. So, you meet people along the way, and you always have to have an open mind and not think that you're on top of the mountain,
Right.
But always have something to learn from. You never know who's going to walk into your life and inspire you, and I have different things that, and obviously God's number one for me. So he comes first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then everything else falls in line from that. But I think having faith in the process also helps with stuff like that, like what happened to me with that gentleman. And you know what I mean? It's like, hey man, he's in control, just let it go. And if you can do that, you'll be, I think, a lot more better off than if you get too emotional. And I'm an emotional person, so I take things personally. So it's super tough for me. A lot of guys are so much better at brushing stuff off like that than I am. I let it get to me. Like, what did I do? You know what I mean? Totally friendly. No, there wasn't a single, along that process of he was unhappy with anything. You know what I mean? Everything was smooth and good. And then that happened. And I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it 100%.
So when it comes to sales, just that helps me, my personal belief in, in God.
Yes, absolutely. I'm the same way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of has their own path or mechanism as to, how they're going to deal with things. But I think the foundation that I had, with my parents, my football coach and martial arts, those people really did the most to form me, which is why I would say for young people, if you have a goal or a dream, chase it, because later on in life, you're going to have more responsibilities and you might not have the time or resources to dedicate. Like for me, it was martial arts. Yeah. It took a lot of time, 5+ years of time. Yeah. And now it would be super tough. I wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, it'd be incredibly challenging given my schedule to be able to accomplish that. So, I'd say for young people, if you have a dream, go for it. Whether it's you want to travel to this country or, you want to hike Mount Whitney or, whatever the case may be, do it before life comes at you and things get too hectic. You meet a girl, get married, and next thing you know, maybe have kids, and now it's going to be a lot tougher. Yeah.
A lot of different situations.
Yeah. Sorry if I got off on a tangent.
No, that's good. That's good. That's a great thing for viewers and for anybody else that's watching this, That's definitely something I've learned recently, especially in this kind of past month and a half. I moved out of I moved out of my dad's place and got my own studio apartment.
Yeah.
A week before school was over, so I was still in school in my own place.
Right.
And you know, kind of one of the things that I've learned in this past month and a half is really just about taking action. You know, everything I've been doing up to this point has just been an idea that I've got in my head, and I've just acted on almost immediately. And
That's
so,
awesome.
you know, even if I make a reminder and get to it, you know, later that day, you know, regardless, I still have that there, and it's always, you know, recircling my mind, and you know, I take action as quickly as possible. So
yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like I said when I met you, you're pretty unique.
Yeah.
A guy. You're blessed, you know, that you have that kind of mindset. Because I meet a lot of young people that don't have that, you know, and so you're doing everything right.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know what I mean?
All right. Well, next question I think would be if you had to start over from scratch, like let's say another market crash or something else happened, right? And you had to start all the way over from scratch. Where would you start? What would you do?
You know, that's a great question. I think about that all the time because being in sales, everything is reflective of the economy. You know, interest rates and things that are out of your control.
Right.
You know, and the rewards can be great, but the risks are there too.
Yeah.
You know, so that being said, I've always wondered in my head after I went through the apprenticeship and turned out as a journeyman, if I shouldn't have taken the safer route and got a job with like the power company. You know, I'd be retired here shortly had I done that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And but I went the different direction, more risk, greater reward. And sometimes you pay for it. You know, you have to be kind of frugal, you know, and keep in mind that when you have a good month, you know, put some money away.
Yeah.
You know, and think about your retirement because time flies, man. I'm 55 years old and I can't believe I've been here 16 years.
Yeah.
You know, I never even thought I'd want to be a car salesman, and 16 years later, here I am. So that's always a struggle for anyone who's in commission sales is the environment in which the economy, you know, where the economy is at that time. You know, when people have money and they want to get healthy, it's like, I'm going to hire a trainer.
Yeah.
When things are slim, it's like, I'm going to buy a videotape and work out at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, you know, you're kind of in the same boat. And so that's, you know, that's another big lesson is don't take anything for granted. You know, when you have a good month, it doesn't mean you should go out and spend it all and, you know, put some money away, have that nest egg, you know, so when things do get tight, you're not sweating it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's definitely something I've been kind of working on too. You know, I'm blessed to make a very solid amount of money for my age, you know, being able to pay rent and still have a solid amount left over. So I've been able to, you know, this past couple months buy what I need to kind of finish building my place up and putting all the pieces together. And so now it really is time to start setting that stuff aside and building up.
Yeah, and you know, think about retirement. That's one thing I wish I would have done a little better, you know, in that respect. You know, this is a great place to work. I mean, they have matching 401k and everything. So, I mean, I have something, right? But I could have had a lot more.
Yeah.
Had I been a little better at planning. You know what I mean? So that's always something to keep in mind too. You know, it's weird. My dad, he was in real estate, so kind of the same thing. You know, later in his career, he got into commercial banking where it's a little more stable. But yeah, I saw firsthand, you know, it's amazing that I'm even in sales because I saw my parents go through great times and then really tough times when the market was down. You know what I mean? So I always have to be mindful of that when it comes to this job.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
All right. How would you define success for yourself?
That's a great question, right? And you can set yourself up for defeat depending on what you think is successful. If you say, I'm a success if I make 10 grand a month, right? And then if you don't, does that mean you're not successful? Or, you know, you're going to beat yourself up?
Right.
Or you could say, I'm a success if I get up in the morning and come to work with a good attitude and impact my workmates and other people in a positive manner. So at the end of the day, I could look at myself and say, you know what, that was a successful day. I treated everybody with kindness, courtesy, and respect. I was able to help somebody. You know what I mean? So that's a tricky question. You have to be really careful because you can really set yourself up for defeat if you say, well, I'm only a success if I sell X amount of cars, otherwise I'm not successful. Not to say you shouldn't challenge yourself. You always want to exceed your expectations, right? But you also have to have a positive attitude and do everything you can in this business to have a positive attitude. And if things aren't tracking your way, like if you didn't get enough clients, right? And it's like, man, I need to get some more clients, or I haven't met enough customers. You have to always try and stay positive.
Yeah.
And so that question's a tricky one.
Yeah. I like that answer. That's actually very fitting for actually what's been happening for the past week at my other job. When being new to sales and everything like that. I kind of set this precedent and set this goal for myself. I want to have X amount of clients or do X amount of this, right? And and then we have those ups and downs. I had a lot of people scheduled that didn't show up. Actually, I had a record number of 11 people my first day that I had scheduled with me. But out of the 11 people, by the next week, I had 13 on one day, and or in that 1 week. And so in those 13, only one showed up.
Yeah.
And
so you get it.
Yeah.
Right?
And I kind of, for a minute, I did beat myself up about it. Like, oh man, this, I wish I had done it differently or this, that. But then once I calmed myself down and kind of just took a step back, I analyzed kind of the way I did things before. Tried to reset.
Yeah.
Keep myself humble, keep myself, grounded, right?
Yeah.
And then, came to work yesterday, very tired from my other job also.
Sure.
But, came to work with a positive attitude and did very well.
Yeah, because people, they can tell if something's up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can only fake it until you make it. You can't really fake it.
Yeah.
Especially me, I wear my heart on my sleeve. So I know that if I'm crapped out, I'm better off not talking to a customer.
Yeah.
Until I get my head clear.
Yeah.
Because they're going to feel it.
First impressions.
So I think being a success is knowing that you came to work with a positive attitude and gave 100%. And sometimes along the way, you can help people, not necessarily get a sale, but feel good about it. Like if someone has questions, they bought a Jeep here and they can't figure out how to operate something, and you take time out of your day just to show them, even though it may not be your customer.
Right.
Little things like that, 'cause you never know what the day's gonna give you.
Yeah.
And so just trying to be positive and see if you can't help somebody, which you're lucky in your job, at the end of the day, if you were to ask yourself, did I improve anybody's life? Well, absolutely you did.
Yeah.
You're leading them on a path towards better health and wellness. So you're fortunate, that you have that.
Yeah, right.
Like this job, some people are excited. It's like they've always wanted, let's say a Jeep, right? But other people, it's like their car broke down. They don't make a lot of money, but they need a ride, and like they're strapped.
Yeah.
And they're not really excited to be here. It's more out of a necessity, not out of like, oh, I'm finally going to treat myself to a newer car.
Right.
And so that's differentiating, between those two and having empathy,
Yeah.
and helping each person the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Based on their needs.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you're going to get, someone who's an athlete, and you're going to have to step up the training on them, and you're going to get someone who's 500 pounds who's just happy to be able to walk there.
Right. Yeah. I've already had that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely understand. It's being about, genuine and personal.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I've been learning recently. So.
Yeah, and you can't, I think anybody in sales, you shouldn't really meet a salesperson you don't like.
Yeah.
And if you do, then it's like, that's a red flag. Like, why don't I like that guy?
Yeah.
Is he come across fake or, you know what I mean? So just being genuine, and where people trust what you say, and also too admitting fault. Like, I don't know. I'll find out though.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I get asked questions, and I'm pretty good with my product knowledge, but sometimes I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, you know what, I don't know, but I'll find out for you. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
being able to do that, that's very important too. I was being new to my personal training job and the sales in that industry. I don't know very much at all about, the membership or the app or, any of these things. But, when somebody asks a question, I go find out and I bring that back to them.
Yeah.
So I also know for myself.
Yeah, no, you have a good way about you.
Yeah.
I knew that was the first time I met you too.
Yeah.
I was like, that guy's special.
Thank you. What is the best sales advice someone has ever given you?
My manager he knows me, and so just be like a duck, let the water run off your back.
Mm.
You know, because let's just say you could spend all day and you talk to 4 different customers, you didn't make a sale.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's it's simple enough, but honestly, in sales, you have to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, swing easy.
Swing
You know,
easy.
don't panic.
Yeah.
If things aren't going your way, you know, because then you're going to come across as desperate.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
nobody wants that.
Yeah.
So swing easy. You know, just have fun, be yourself, and if it doesn't go your way, just be like a duck and let the water run off your back.
Awesome.
So those 2 things I always try and it's hard.
Yeah.
To do, right? When
For
things
sure.
aren't going your way, it's like, come on, man, I got to get a sale.
Yeah.
You know, and you're standing around all day and you only talk to one customer. You know, you just gotta. When you do meet that customer, you just gotta swing easy, do your job, be yourself, educate, and you know, gather all the information you need to help guide that person and make a good decision.
Absolutely. I like that. Swing easy, let the water run off your back. That's nice.
Yeah, he knows me too. You know, I've worked with him for. That's why I love this place. You know, he's known me for over 10 years now, and he's seen me as a salesperson in his job. Every person is different, right?
Yeah.
Your wants and needs may be different than my wants and needs, or your emotional strengths or weaknesses, or it could be different than mine. You know,
Right.
So as a manager, you know, he knows me and he sees that. He's like, man, swing easy.
Nice.
Don't let that get to you.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, be like a duck and let the water run off your back.
That's nice. I think that's a big, like, kind of just like an innuendo almost into confidence and how important that is in sales, you know, because, you know, especially, you know, the swing easy part. I like that because that's, you know, to me, I see that as like a confidence thing, you know. You know, you're confident in what you're doing, you're confident in what you're saying, you know, you're not doubting whether you're going to make the sale, you're just moving, just flowing with it.
Yeah.
It comes easy.
You know, I could probably sell a lot more cars if I was more pushy, but I'm just not pushy. I'm not a pushy person.
Yeah,
you know? And my customers appreciate that about me, you know.
Yeah.
They say, man, you let them make the decision, you know, after you educate them. Because I want them to be just as happy tomorrow as they were today. I don't want them like second guessing, like, man, what did I do, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Fortunately, it's worked for me, and you know, I always have to tweak things. And most importantly, is just always having your head straight and trying to be going into work with a positive attitude.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
that's great. That's a difference, you know, between kind of what I've seen from other salesmen. You know, it's like the pushiness is, you know, they want their success. They're not necessarily worried about the customer. You
exactly.
know? You know, so you know they might get the sale, but you know now the customer's overspent. And, you know, now they struggling with the mortgage or can't pay another bill, and it snowballs. So
exactly, that's a great point. And you want to feel good about yourself too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, and at the end of the day, so
just
treating people right.
Yeah, for sure.
And having empathy for their situation, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and I feel like that stuff follows you. Personally, I think like that doesn't go unseen, especially if you know better. You know, to me, like especially, you know, for me and you, like when, you know, we're able to tell when somebody, you know, should or shouldn't make, you know, buy this, or, you know, if you know, let's say, you know, you run into somebody who doesn't have the budget for this car, but, you know, and you understand that, you know that, but let's say you end up selling them that car anyway, you know, and now.
Well, that's always the tough part, right? Like I was mentioning earlier, some people have been waiting a long time to get that new Jeep.
Yeah.
You know, and other people, it's out of necessity. Like they don't have a choice; they have to buy a car to have transportation, and those are the toughest ones because they really don't want that kind of monthly payment. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like let's just say I had someone last week. They had just paid off their car and then it broke. And it's going to need like $5,000 worth of work. So they finally had no car payment.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
And now they're going to have one.
Yeah.
You know, and that's out of necessity. And it's like, oh man, and you help them out, but at the end of the day, you know,
it's kind of just a rough situation.
It is, and you feel bad. You know, it's like, oh man, that person, they had it made. You know, they just weren't going to have a car payment for a while, and then their car breaks, and they don't have the cash to pay for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's emotionally, you know, and I feel for people, so
Yeah.
it's probably harder on me than it may be on most. But I think about people's situations, and
Yeah.
some people, they're doing good and they can afford it, and everything's happy and great, and they're excited. But like I said, the other flip side of that is like something that like I just mentioned. That's tough.
Yeah. Well, empathy is rare, and I think that's a quality trait that you have for sure is the empathetic side of these things. You try and understand the customer, and you're staying personal. And you genuinely want to help and meet their needs, and beyond just the sales part, but kind of I think the more spiritual aspect of things. That I definitely think that follows you throughout life. So
yeah, I've met some pretty amazing people,
Yeah.
and I have made friends,
Yeah.
with customers, and they've bought multiple cars from me, and it's not just sitting down and talking about cars; it's
Right.
talking about life and everything else,
Kids, grandkids.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like you get to meet a lot of interesting people, but your job's unique. You get to see success.
Yeah.
You get to see what the result is of them putting in the work and you coaching them along the way. So
Yeah.
there's something really rewarding about that. It's like when I taught martial arts.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, did I improve somebody's life? And I'd be like, I did.
Yeah.
I'd have people walk in that couldn't look you in the eye or shake hands, and then after a few months are like looking you in the eye, shaking your hand. They have this confidence.
Yeah.
So I don't really get that here. It's a different kind of help, if
Right.
you will, or I guess my reward is were they happy, did they feel they were treated right, and those are the things that give me happiness, I guess. But a job like yours, or when I used to teach martial arts, those are, or like being a doctor or nurse or
Right.
whatever, where you're actually
Teacher.
physically helping somebody.
Yeah.
So this is a little different. You have to think about the reward system in different ways. As far as making yourself feel like you're doing good.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. That's why I chose this profession, or at least personal training. Is I mean, number one, I love fitness, but also love to teach people.
Yeah.
If I can, if people are willing to learn, I love to teach people. Either about fitness or even what I know about money. Which isn't too much, but I meet younger guys who want to learn more, or interested in these kind of things, and so I love being able to teach people and help them improve, help them get better health, and this was really my dream job, if I'm being honest. Being a personal trainer.
That's awesome, and it's only gonna grow, and I hope your channel really takes off, and you can do a lot of good with that, because most people, a lot of people nowadays, they get their news and information off of like YouTube,
right?
At least I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's an important tool. So good for you.
Yeah.
For doing that, and I wish you a lot of success, man.
All right, thank you, man.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
And that will conclude my first interview, the first video to go up on the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed. That man, Dirk, has been in the industry for 16 years, like he said. Great guy, man. So please hit that like, subscribe, hit that post notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.